wish I had stumbled across anarchism a lot earlier than I did, but I feel like what's been great about the sort of reemergence of anarchism contemporarily is that it's made it much more visible and accessible for people to come to it earlier and earlier. And in North America, especially, it was sort of hidden away for a while. But I feel like I've pretty much my entire life been interested in why people don't have sort of control over their lives and can't make decisions together. That's always been I don't know why, I've always been political and wondering why people just can't all together figure out what they want their world to be and make the world. And then I ended up at one point moving to Vermont and ran into a bunch of amazing people who were doing all sorts of really good radical community organizing and study groups and popular education, and Murray Bookchin also lived there. So through them I met him, and he was a phenomenal, probably one of the most rigorous and radical, thoughtful, revolutionary anarchists of the late 20th century, and was always really generous about giving his time. So he did study groups. So I studied with him for 2 years. He just did it because he wanted to mentor revolutionaries. And at his best, he wanted people to learn to think for themselves and use that to change the world and be out as engaged, both critical thinkers and engaged organizers. And I feel like that was a really good mentor to come in, and a really good way to come into anarchism. Taught me how to think dialectically and how to think prefiguratively, both of which I was already doing, but I didn't know it had a tradition and words and a whole body of ideas. And so Bookchin at his best was really trying to encourage future generations of radicals, and I feel like to some degree that's what I spend a lot of time doing now in terms of my work. I really believe in that we all always have things to learn from each other, no matter where we are in our lives. So you need to have continuity between anarchists. So I love creating anarchist spaces where different generations and experiences and types of anarchists get together to debate ideas and strategies and what we're doing, and then to do that together to try to change the world. So I've been involved in everything from across continental United States in terms of large-scale convergences or campaigns to get people to try to bring anarchism out into the world and also change things. I did different campaigns which are sort of controversial, from don't just vote or not vote, or no hope for presidents but from people, in the past couple election campaigns, when people in the United States think about politics. But I've done anarchist bookstores and anarchist cafes and anarchist schools and been parts of those. And I just wrote a book recently, which I'm really happy about, to introduce people to anarchism, called Anarchism and Its Aspirations. And so I do everything from right and popular education and organizing. And some of my favorite experiences of doing anarchist work have both been putting on small anarchist theory conferences or gatherings where together we try to work through ideas about what we don't like about society, but what we really want society to look like instead. I think that's sort of the second thing I spend a lot of time doing, besides realizing that you have to sort of continually be open to expanding your own ideas and mentoring other generations and working to build anarchism and bring it out to the world. But the other thing I really love doing is trying to think about not only how we do that with each other, but how we do that in lived practices. So some of my favorite experiences have been when I've been in neighborhoods or communities where just people who happen to live next door to each other are upset about something that's changing in a park or something they're losing, and they just kind of look at each other and go, how can we make this look different? So I love doing things that bring together people and suddenly create spaces for democracy or self-governance or people assemblies in neighborhoods. And time and again, whenever I've done that, I really feel like people know what they want to do with where they live. And not everyone agrees with each other, but there's a real power when people get together and start figuring out how they want to transform spaces and places and things they care about. And to me, that's the beginning of seeing what anarchism is about. People together start trying to prefigure or practice how it would be to self-determine or self-govern or self-manage. And by and large, I think most people know how to do it. They just feel like they can't, or they feel like they're scared of what they have, that they need to know there's something. If they're giving up, they'll get something else that's better. And so our job as anarchists, in a sense, is not only just to, I'm really not an anarchist of everything's wrong, which it is, but so if we don't like the state, what would replace it? If we don't like capitalism, what would replace it? I really think we need to spend a lot of time thinking about our reconstructive vision. And that's, I think, a lot of what I do too, is try to bring that part of anarchism out to the world. Give people a sense of the hopefulness of what we're striving for, not just what we are against. Which I actually think at this historical moment is pretty clear to most people. More and more it's clear that capitalism isn't working. The point is, what would work instead that would be libertarian and egalitarian and mutualistic and cooperative and all these big buzzwords that anarchists use, but how does that work when we actually try it? So I spend a lot of time trying to do those kinds of things and put those ideas out in the world.